Hello, this is Shmuel Moshe, and you are listening to the Weekly Parashahcast Season 2, the show where I read the Tanakh and provide my own interpretations of what I think it all means. This week's episode falls on the 18th of Sivan, 5785, June 14th, 2025. We're going to be reading more from the book of Shmuel Bet, chapters 19 through 20. You could follow along in English on Chabad.org. As always, I remind everybody I'm not a professional Torah scholar or scripture scholar, just somebody who wanted to study the scripture. Let's begin. Shmuel Bet, chapter 19, verse 1. And the king trembled, and he went up to the upper chamber of the gate, and wept. And thus he said as he went, O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would I have died in your stead, O Absalom, my son, my son. And it was told to Joab, Behold, the king is weeping and mourning over Absalom. And the victory that day turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard on that day, saying, The king is saddened over his son. And the people sneaked that day into the city, as people that are ashamed sneak away when they flee in battle. And the king covered his face, and the king cried with loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab came to the king into the house, and he said, Today you have embarrassed all your servants, who have today saved your life, the lives of your sons and daughters, and the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines, by loving those that hate you and hating those that love you. For on this day you have declared that you regard neither princes nor servants, since I perceive that today, if Absalom had lived and we all had died today, it would have been proper in your eyes. Now arise, go out, and speak to the heart of your servants, for I swear by the Lord that if you do not go forth, not one man will remain with you tonight. Now this will be worse for you than all the misfortune that has befallen you from your youth until now. And the king arose and sat in the gate, and all the people were notified, saying, Behold, the king is sitting in the gate. And all the people came before the king, but Israel fled every man to his tents. And all the people argued with one another throughout all of Israel by saying, The king delivered us out of the hand of our enemies, and he saved us out of the hand of the Philistines. And now he was forced to flee out of the land from before Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now, therefore, why do you all remain silent about returning the king? And King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, saying, Speak to the elders of Judah. Why should you be the last to return the king to his house? While the talk of all Israel has come to the king to return him to his house. You are my brethren, you are my own bone and flesh. Why then should you be the last to return the king? And to Amasa you shall say, Are you not my bone and flesh? So shall God do to me in even more, if you shall not be appointed captain of the host before me continually in Joab's stead. And he swayed the heart of all the men of Judah, as the heart of one man. And they sent to the king, Return you with all your servants. And the king returned, and he came to the Jordan. And Judah came to Gilgal to go towards the king, and to lead the king across the Jordan. And Shimei the son of Gera the Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And 1,000 men of Benjamin were with him. And Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and 20 servants were also with him, and they split the Jordan before the king. And the barge crossed over to bring the king's household across, and to do what would be pleasing in his eyes. And Shimei the son of Gera fell down before the king when he was crossing the Jordan. And he said to the king, Let not my lord impute iniquity to me, nor remember that which your servant sinned on the day that my lord the king went out to Jerusalem, to the degree that the king should take it to his heart. For your servant knows that I have sinned, and I have therefore come this day, as the first of all the house of Joseph, to go down towards my lord the king. And Abishai the son of Zeruiah responded and said, In exchange for this shall Shimei not be put to death for having cursed the Lord's anointed? And David said, What is it between me and you, sons of Zeruiah, that you should become a hindrance to me today? Shall any man be put to death today in Israel? For do I not know that today I am king over Israel? And the king said to Shimei, You shall not die. And the king swore to him. And Mephibosheth the son of Saul came towards the king, and he had not washed his feet, nor did he trim his mustache, and his clothes he did not wash from the day of the king's departure until the day that he came back in peace. And it came to pass when he came to Jerusalem towards the king, that the king said to him, Why had you not gone with me, Mephibosheth? And he said, My lord the king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle me an ass that I may ride it and accompany the king, since your servant is lame. And he slandered your servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is as an angel of God. Do therefore what is good in your eyes. For all my father's house were nothing more than deserving of death at the hands of my lord the king, yet you placed your servant among them that eat at your table. What more right have I to appeal further to the king? And the king said to him, Why do you speak further concerning this matter? I say, you and Ziba divide the land. And Mephibosheth said to the king, Let him take all, now that my lord the king has arrived safely to his house. And Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim, and he crossed the Jordan with the king in order to escort him across the Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very old man, 80 years old, and he had sustained the king when he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. And the king said to Barzillai, You come over with me, and I will sustain you with me in Jerusalem. And Barzillai said to the king, How many are the days of my life that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am 80 years old this day. Can I still discern between good and bad? Or can your servant taste what I eat and drink? Or can I still listen to the voice of singers and songstresses? Why then should your servant be yet a burden to my lord the king? A short way shall your servant go past the Jordan with the king. But why should the king recompense me with such reward? Allow your servant, please, to turn back, so that I may die in my own city, by the grave of my father and mother. Here, however, is your servant Chimcham. Let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what is good in your eyes. And the king said, Chimcham shall go over with me, and I will do to him what seems good in your eyes. Now anything that you shall request of me, I shall do for you. And all the people went over the Jordan, and the king went over, and the king kissed Barzillai, and he blessed him, and he returned to his place. And the king went over to Gilgal, and Chimcham went over with him. And all the people of Judah brought the king over, and also half the people of Israel. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king, and they said to the king, Why did our brothers the men of Judah steal you away, by having brought the king and his household over the Jordan, and all of David's men with him? And all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, Because the king is near to me. Furthermore, why are you so angered over this matter? Have we eaten of the king, or has any present been gifted us? And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah, and he said, I have 10 parts in the king, and am therefore closer to David than you. Why then did you slight me? Now was not my word the very first to return to my king? And the words of the men of Judah were harsher than the words of the men of Israel. End of chapter 19. Lots of things happen in this chapter, so let's get a break down, part by part. So the first chunk, we have David in mourning. He's mourning Absalom. It's clear that he loved Absalom very much, maybe more than he should have relative to the amount of trouble Absalom gave him. So he's weeping and crying. The day of victory turns into a day of mourning. So the whole kingdom is basically now in mourning because they hear that the king is weeping. Joab hears about this, his top guy, his general, and he basically goes to David and he says, What's wrong with you? Why are you crying for your boy while the rest of us who saved you, you would rather we died than him, huh? Yeah. Well, he doesn't say shame on you, but he basically says shame on you. Today you have embarrassed all your servants who have today saved your life, the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines, by loving those that hate you and hating those that love you. So, essentially, he has shown way too much favor in grieving for Absalom and has dishonored everybody else in the kingdom, more or less. So, from here, people are now kind of thinking twice about their behavior because, as they say, David delivered us out of the hands of our enemies, saved us from the Philistines, and then was forced to flee out of the land from Absalom, who we anointed over us, and guess what? He died. So, maybe we should, I don't know, Maybe we should not stand idly by. Maybe we should, return to the king and welcome him home. And so David sends Zadok and Abiathar the priests and tells them to tell the elders of Judah specifically, why should you be last to return us? So what they do is they go ahead and they grab the Judeans, or the people of Judah, and get them to come over for David first. Now Amasa, he also appoints him in the role of general. He says, you'll be captain of the host before me continually in Joab's stead. So Joab lost a lot of favor here because he dared speak up against David. David did not kill him, but he replaced him with a new hire. So he put in a Nepo baby, even though Joab has a great track record. So from here, it's successful in getting the people of Judah to come and bring him home. Now, the guy from before, Shimei, son of Gera the Benjamite, he was the one who was throwing stones and talking bad to David all that time. And he shows up at the front of the pack, basically, with 1,000 men of Benjamin. And he also is there with Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, with his 15 sons. And they basically make it so that he can cross the Jordan River. And Shimei, this guy, he throws himself to the ground and he just says, "My king, I was terrible. I was saying so many bad things to you. I'm sorry. And, I hope you will not kill me. See that I am the first person here to welcome you home. But, I was wrong. I sinned, and I hope that you will not take it too personally." Abishai, son of Zeruiah, he basically says, "Oh, you? Yeah, we know what we're going to do with you. We're going to kill you. Isn't that right, King David?" And David says, "No, we're not going to do that. It's fine. We're not going to go and do all that." Next, Mephibosheth, who was the son of Jonathan, right? Remember, this guy has a seat at David's table, but he didn't show up. And as it came out, he was told that Ziba, the servant of Saul, had reported that Mephibosheth stood behind and remained with the traitors, thinking he would get his kingdom back. And if we recall in the previous episode, I remember mentioning, boy, that's awfully ungrateful, considering David spared him, blah, blah, blah. Didn't really add up, right? Well, here we hear from Mephibosheth. He says, "That was not true. I was deceived by my servant. All of this it's not how it seems. He's lying. He tricked me. He left me behind because I'm lame in my legs. I have no way to get here. And now I'm here." And it kind of seems true because he hasn't shaved. He hasn't taken care of himself with any personal grooming. Since David left, he has been just leaving himself to wallow. So it seems believable. So David asks him, what's the deal with all that? He tells him the truth. Presumably, David decides, okay, in that case, each of you are going to split what I previously gave to your servant. It's instead going to be divided 50-50. And Mephibosheth says, no, let him take all. Basically, he says, I don't need all that. So long as you are safe, I'm content. Next up, we have an old man named Barzillai from Gilead. He was the guy who took care of David while he was in this little brief exile. And so David, to thank him, says, let me bring you back to Jerusalem with me. And this old man, Barzillai, says, oh, no, King David, you are too kind. I'm an old man. I'm 80 years old. I'm not going to live long enough for it to matter. I can barely discern this and that. All the good things you want to give me, they'd be wasted on a guy like me. So instead, take this young man named Himham. Take him with you instead, because that's what we need right there, that guy. He will benefit. Do what's good with him in your eyes. And David's like, all right, you got it, my friend. And so they go and they prepare to pass over. And lastly, we get the people of Israel. They arrive, and they have come to greet the king, and they see that the people of Judah have already gone ahead of them. And so they're pissed. They say, what's this all about? How come you did this in secret? And the people of Judah are like, well, is he not from the tribe of Judah? Besides, what are you so mad about? Have we done anything? Has he given us any favor? I don't think so. So what's your problem? But they don't like that, and they say, well, we have 10 parts in the king, because we are, we being Israel, meaning we have the tribe of Benjamin, right, that came with Shimei, and we also have the tribe of Judah. That's 10 other tribes that are not present. So they say, we are 10 parts to the king out of the 12, and therefore we are closer. So why did you go without us? Wasn't it we, the men of Israel, who were saying that we should return the king? Which, as it says earlier in the chapter, that is the case. And the last verse here, it says, and the words of the men of Judah were harsher than the words of the men of Israel. So it seems that there was a little bit of a dispute. Ultimately, the guys from Judah were a little bit rougher. Now we move on to chapter 20, verse 1, Shmuel, Bet. Let's begin. Now there chanced to be there a base man whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. And he blew a shofar and declared, we have no portion of David, neither have we an inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel. And the men of Israel went up from after David, following Sheba the son of Bichri, but the men of Judah cleaved to their king from the Jordan until Jerusalem. And David came to his house in Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women who were his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and he put them in a guardhouse, where he sustained them. But he came not upon them. And they remained bound as widows with husband yet, alive until the day of their death. And the king said to Amasa, Call together for me the men of Judah within 3 days, then be here present. And Amasa went to call together the men of Judah, but he tarried past the set time which he had appointed him. And David said to Abishai, Now Sheba the son of Bichri will cause us more harm than did Absalom. Therefore take you your lord's servants, and pursue after him, lest he find for himself fortified cities, and save himself before our eyes. And Joab's men went after him with the archers and the slingers, and all the warriors, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. They were by the great stone which is in Gibeon, when Amasa came before them, and Joab was girded with his military coat as apparel. And thereon was a girded sword in its sheath, which was fastened to his loins, and he went forth, and it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, Is all well with you, my brother? And Joab's right hand took hold of Amasa's beard, as if to kiss him. And Amasa took no heed of the sword that was in Joab's hand, and he struck him with it to the 5th rib, and he spilled out his bowels to the ground. And though he did not repeat, he nevertheless died. And Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba the son of Bichri. And one of Joab's young men stood by him and said, He that favors Joab, and he that is for David, let him follow Joab. And Amasa was wallowing in blood in the middle of the highway. And the man saw that all the people remained standing. So he veered Amasa off the highway into the field, and he threw a garment over him when he saw that everyone who came upon him stood still. When he was removed from the highway, all the people passed on after Joab to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. And he passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel, and to Beth-maachah, and all the Berites, and they gathered together, and they went after him too. And they came and they besieged him in Abel of Beth-maachah, and they spilled dirt to form a mound against the city, and it stood with only its inner wall. And all the people that were with Joab were battering to throw down the wall. And a wise woman called out from within the city, Hear, hear, say I, pray you, to Joab, Come closer to here, so that I may speak to you. And he came near to her, and the woman said, Are you Joab? And he said, I am. And she said to him, Hear the words of your handmaid. And he said, I am listening. And she spoke, saying, Surely they should have spoken first to hear what they have to say. Had they inquired of the people of Abel, and so would they have made peace. I am of those that are peaceful and faithful to Israel. Why then do you seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel? Why should you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?
And Joab answered, Far be it from me, that I should swallow up or that I should destroy. The matter is not so, but a man of the hills of Ephraim named Sheba the son of Bichri has lifted his hand against the king, against David. Give us him alone, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said to Joab, His head shall be thrown to you over the wall. And so the woman came to all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri, and threw it to Joab. And he blew the shofar, and they dispersed from the city, every man to his tents. And Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. And Joab was over the entire army of Israel, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was over the archers and the slingers. And Adoram was over the tribute, and Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was recorder. And Shva was scribe, and Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Ira the Yairite was a chief official to David. End of chapter 20. So here we have another story, continuing off of the heels of what took place with the previous encounter, the sons of Judah in conflict with the sons of everybody else, basically, except for maybe Benjamin. So this whole conflict is taking place, and this guy named Sheba, the son of Bichri, he gets the smart idea to try to cause a little bit of a social disturbance. So he basically says, Come on, everybody. We don't have any part in this king, the son of Jesse. Forget this guy. Let's all go home. And so basically that's exactly what happens, and the tribe of Judah stays with David, but everybody else goes home. So when he gets back, the first thing he does, it says, is he takes the 10 women who were his concubines, who he left behind, and he puts them in a guardhouse where he sustained them but came not upon them. They remained bound as widows with husband yet alive until the day of their death. So what does this mean? Well, we have to recall what happened with Absalom. What was the advice he received? He was told to lay with his father's concubines.
Well, that's a bit of a problem. So David can no longer lay with them himself. He instead puts them in a tower and locks them up to live out their days, basically with no chance at being concubines. But whatever, they're basically living widows. Very much a strange situation. Hard to say. Next, he calls out to Amasa, the guy he appointed in charge. And he says, this is going to be trouble. This Sheba guy, he's going to be a real thorn on my side. And if we don't stop him, it's going to be even worse than what happened with Absalom. So he says, get me the men of Judah, and let's gather here in 3 days. So he calls the men of Judah, but he himself is late to the appointment. So David tells Abishai, okay, well listen, we're not going to let this guy cause us trouble, so let's get this guy taken down before it's too late. Now Joab, he takes his army after Sheba, and he's got the archers and the slingers and everybody with him. They go and pursue him, and in Gibeon, they're at the great stone when Amasa appears before them. So I'm assuming this guy showed up late, basically. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? I've just made it. And he approaches, and Joab says to him, is all well with you, my brother? And he's going to sucker punch him, and instead of it being a punch, he's stabbing him to death. So he goes up on him, and he grabs him by the beard, and Amasa has no idea what's about to happen. Joab, in typical Joab fashion, stabs the guy, leaves him for dead, says it stabs him beneath the fifth rib, but he doesn't repeat it. So he just stabbed him once, cut open his belly, his guts spill out, and then he leaves him to bleed out on the road. And he's like, all right, everybody, let's go. And he starts moving. Joab's men, one of the young guys says, come on, he who is with Joab and follows David, let's go after Joab. And everybody is still standing there looking at Amasa dying in the middle of the road. And he's like, okay, fine. And he grabs the guy. He throws him off the road, throws him into the pit, which is, again, horrible. Not the pit, but he throws him in the field next to the road. Then he covers him with a garment, so the guy is very much toast. And now that he's no longer in sight, the people start following. So they finally end up reaching the place called Abel of Beth Makkah. And what they do is, it's a walled city. So it says they spilled dirt. They basically piled up some dirt to build a ramp up the mountain. Or up, not the mountain, a ramp up the wall. And so it says that only the inner wall now was protecting them. And they're going to siege the city for a while until eventually they'll take the whole city. When a wise woman calls out and says, is Joab there? I want to speak to Joab. And she basically parlays with Joab. And he talks to her. He's like, yes, how can I help you, lady? And she says, listen. Why didn't you just talk with us? We are not enemies of David. We're faithful to Israel. So why destroy all of us? We're on your side. And he basically goes, okay, fair enough. Well, I'll tell you, what I want is just this guy. So bring me Sheba's head, throw it over the wall, and nobody else will get hurt. And she says, as you say, so shall it be. So she goes on her way, and sure enough, time goes by. What happens? They throw the head over the wall, and thus the city is saved, and it's because of this wise woman. So next from here, he blows the shofar, announcing to everybody, okay, fighting's over, go home. And he leads the army back. So it says Joab is the head of the army of Israel. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was archers and slingers boss. Adoram standing over the tribute. Yehoshaphat is the recorder. Shvash scribe. Zadok, Abiathar the priests. Arya the Yadirite chief official. So now we know the breakdown of his top guys in the military. Now moving on to the final chapter for this week. Chapter 21, Shmuel Bet, verse 1. And there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year. And David sought the face of the Lord. And the Lord said, it is for Saul, and also for his bloody house, because he put to death the Gibeonites. And the king called the Gibeonites, and said to them, now the Gibeonites were not the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Israel had sworn to them. But Saul nevertheless sought to slay them in his zeal for the sake of the children of Israel and Judah. And David said to the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you? And with what shall I make atonement so that you shall bless the inheritance of the Lord? And the Gibeonites said to him,
We have no matters of silver and gold with Saul, or with his house, and we care not to put to death any man in Israel.
And he said, What do you request that I shall do for you? And they said to the king,
The man who consumed us, and who plotted against us that we be destroyed from remaining within any of Israel's borders, let there be delivered to us 7 men from among his sons, and we will hang them for the sake of the Lord in Givat Saul, the chosen of the Lord.
And the king said, I shall deliver them. But the king took pity on Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the Lord's oath that was between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. And the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore to Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she bore to Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Meholathite. And he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the mountain before the Lord. And they fell all 7 together. And they were put to death in the days of the harvest, in the first days at the beginning of the barley harvest. And Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took the sackcloth, and she spread it for her upon the rock, from the beginning of the harvest until water was poured upon them from the heaven. Then she allowed not the birds of heaven to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And it was told to David what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. And David went, and he took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan, his son, from the men of Jabesh-Gilead, who had stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, on the day that the Philistines slew Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up from there the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son, and they gathered the bones of those that were hanged. And they buried the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son in the country of Benjamin in Zelah, in the sepulchre of Kish his father. And they did all that the king commanded, and God was entreated for the land after that. And the Philistines waged war again with Israel, and David went down with his servants, and they fought against the Philistines. But David became faint. And Ishbi, who was one of the sons of Rapha, was in Nob, and the weight of his spear was 300 shekels of brass in weight, and he was girded with new armor, and he thought to smite David. But Abishai the son of Zeruiah aided him, and he struck the Philistine and killed him. Then the men of David swore to him, saying, You shall no longer go out with us to battle, so that you extinguish not the lamp of Israel. And it came to pass after this that there was war again at Gob with the Philistines. Then Sibkai the Hushathite slew Saph, who was one of the sons of Rapha. And there was war again with Gob, with the Philistines. And Elhanan the son of Yaare-Oregim, the Bethlehemite, slew Goliath the Gittite, and the staff of his spear was as thick as the weaver's beam. And there was again war at Gath, and there was there a man of great stature, and the fingers of his hand and the toes of his feet were 6 and 6, totaling 24, and he too was born to Orpah. And he taunted Israel, and Jonathan the son of Shimea, David's brother, smote him. These 4 were born to Rapha and Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. End of chapter 21. So here we have a very, very interesting situation. The land of Israel goes under a famine for 3 years, year after year. Now David is curious. He's going, God, why is this happening? And God says to him, this is all because of what Saul did to the Gibeonites. Now, if you recall in the book of Joshua, I believe, when they were entering the land, these Gibeonites were clever. They realized that they were going to be destroyed by Israel, so they disguised themselves as total strangers from beyond the land and had the Israelites swear oaths with them. The consequence is that they got to survive as servants and slaves of Israel. So this was a better deal than what was going to happen to them. Nevertheless, they were bound to be protected by Israel under oaths sworn before God. Saul violated those oaths, and now this is finally the compensation for that sin of violating an oath sworn by Israel. So David, he realizes, because God tells him it's the Gibeonites, he goes, okay, Gibeonites, how can I fix this? What should I do with you? And they basically say to him, listen, what happened with us, that's not something that money can fix. It's got nothing to do with all that. And we don't want to kill Israelites either. We want revenge specifically from the house of Saul. So give us people from his household, 7 of them. Give us 7 of his sons, and we will hang them for the sake of the Lord in Givat Saul, the chosen of the Lord. And David says, okay, deal. And so he starts looking at the different options, and he skips over Mephibosheth, it says, right? Because he remembered the oath between him and Jonathan. So Jonathan, once again, has saved his bloodline from being exterminated. And then they deliver them over to the Gibeonites, and they are hanged. Now, it says the chosen people, 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore to Saul. So these are 2 of Saul's direct children, Armoni and Mephibosheth. So I'm assuming this is... Okay, I see. It's basically saying that Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore to Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, and then also 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul. Now remember, Michal is who? David's wife, isn't it? I do believe that is the case, and if we recall, who was married to Adriel? It was Merab. So this is a bit confusing. Michal, in a previous chapter, was said to have not had any children. Now, I decided to look into this because this is very strange. It seems like it's a typo or a continuity error. So why does it say that they're the children of Michal, wife of Adriel, if Adriel was married to Merab and not Michal? This is also directly in the Hebrew. It says the name Michal, not Merab. So looking at it in Hebrew here, it says, let's see here, Be'et Mephibosheth, Be'et Chamesh B'nei Michal, children of Michal, Bet Shaul, Asher Le'Adriel, Ben Berizlai. So we see here, this is a problem, right? We see what's going on. Michal bat Shaul, Michal, daughter of Saul, Asher Laida Le'Adriel ben Barzilai. Or Barzilai. So here we have something to explain, right? What's up with this? Why did they not say the 5 children of Merab? Now, I could not come up with an answer for this one. I decided to look and see if this was a typo because it was that egregious of an error. And I saw something suggesting that Merab died. And so Michal raised the sons herself. Either way, this is very strange. Michal did not bear children to Adriel. We're going to go ahead and call this one an inconsistency, which, hey, listen, I don't find them in the Torah, but I clearly found something that doesn't add up here in the book of Samuel 2. So, any case, we can scratch that off the continuity record. Someone needs to retcon the language here. Anyway, yes, I am paying attention. I hope everybody else was. This is not cool that they have this kind of an error in the text in terms of continuity. It really brings the entire book to question. One single error is all it takes to bring everything into question. So we'll continue, as I say, that the books of Moses are my definitive law book, and these are certainly not infallible, because what's going on here? But maybe there's something I don't know. Even though it's clearly established that Michal was married to someone else, not Adriel, and it said that she had no children, but it says the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she bore to Adriel, son of Barzillai. No, that is not factually correct according to the previous chapters. I digress. Would love to hear any some more explanation, but yeah, doesn't fly with me. So anyway, 7 children of Saul's household are destroyed, and after this, Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, takes sackcloth and she spreads it for her upon the rock. So she basically lays there and makes sure that no birds or beasts will bother the corpses. Now, David hears about what she's doing, and I think this inspires him to take pity on her and the house of Saul. So he gets the bones of Saul and Jonathan, his best friend, from the men of Yabesh Gilead, returns them to with the 7 people's corpses from this current hanging, right? He gathers all of them and brings them to the ancestral plot, the sepulchre of Kish, father of Saul, and they are all buried together in this interment for their final resting place. So very good. Now we conclude here with war against the Philistines once again. It says that during this fight, David actually became faint on the battlefield, so he lost some of his battle vigor, and thankfully he was saved, right? They managed to stop him from getting killed. Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, stopped him from being killed by Ishbi, son of Rapha. So this was a big deal. They say, David, no more fighting out in the battlefield. You're staying home because we can't afford to lose you. And then next up, there's a war again at Gob with the Philistines. Sibkai the Hushathite slew Saph, son of Rapha, so one of the princes of Rapha. Then another war at Gob with the Philistines. Elhanan, son of Yaare Oregim, the Bethlehemite, slew Goliath the Gittite. So is there a second Goliath? Right before Goliath was of Gath, right? But now this one's from Gittite. So, or Git, whatever the case is. We heard David slew Goliath before. Maybe this is a title for their biggest warrior. Who knows? This book of Samuel gives one a lot of reasons to start, what's all that about? But it's okay, people do recycle names. That part I can work with. There's not really much of an answer I have for the daughter of Saul thing, but this I can at least let slide. Then it says there was war with Gath, and there was a man who was very, very tall, and he had 24 fingers and toes, right? 6 on each hand and foot, rather than just the normal 5. And he taunted Israel. Then Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, David's brother. So David's nephew slays this guy. And these 4 were born to Rapha and Gath. They fell by the hand of David and his servants. So Rapha's 4 princes go to war, and all are slain by the host of Israel. And that's it for this week's chapter. Quite a lot of craziness going on in the Holy Land during this time period, including what seems to be a continuity error, but we'll give you the 3,000-year benefit of the doubt. In any case, this has been Shmuel Moshe with the Weekly Parashahcast Season 2, saying thanks for listening, and I hope you'll tune in next time. Until then, Baruch Hashem.